Welcome to a journey through the history of art. We will travel along a timeline from the caves to the 19th century. My name is Dr. Jeanne Willette. Let's begin by making the familiar unfamiliar. Asking the question, are Greek sculptures really Greek? Many of the most famous examples of Greek sculpture are, in fact, Roman copies in marble of the bronze originals. But the key sculpture, Kritos Boy, was found buried on the Acropolis, an important site for sculptures. Over the centuries, the sculptors added detailed articulation to muscle and bones and learned how to make the figures come alive through contrapposto. Propelled by the need to free the figure from frontal stasis and Egyptian rigidity, Greek sculptors pushed the evolution of sculpture from the archaic to the severe to the classical phases. Even today, much of our interpretation of the Greek culture owes a great deal to the first art historian, Johann Winckelmann, who wrote about Greek sculpture in the mid-18th century and connected the Athenian custom of conducting athletics in the nude to the increased interest in the movement of the human body. Alien to other cultures, the nudity of the human figure was another innovation combined with the new understanding of physical mechanics. But the preference for nudity should not be thought of as a new interest in realism and anatomy alone. Anatomical realism in sculpture can be connected to a statement about the importance of the individual human being, but the quest for veracity was not the isolated journey of an alienated artist, but a joint artistic activity deeply entwined with religious and civic needs of the community. The human form, or to be precise, the male nude, was a metaphor for humanism, for the human-centered world. Progress in artistic forms was a metaphor for the capacity for an individual to improve and strive towards an ideal perfection of the soul, symbolized by nature perfected. Nature, varied and willful like the human being, had to be ruled and ordered and controlled through an intricate system of ratios and proportions applied to the human form. Called the canon, a term implying an exemplar, the doryphorus is more than a javelin thrower, more than an athlete with a spear. He is the perfected man, the ideal human who seeks the perfection of the mind and soul. We even know the name of the sculptor, Polykleitos. The beautiful body becomes sacred, a reflection of the perfected soul. The idealized public sculptures of gods and athletes were more than images to worship, local heroes to admire. They were lodestones and guiding lights for society. An art attitude and practice connected to humanism was a new and innovative cultural attitude that favored creativity and innovation, not just among the artisans, but also among civic leaders. If the Fertile Crescent was the cradle of civilization, then ancient Athens was the dawn of Western art and architecture and political institutions. More than developing an early form of democracy, government by the people, ancient Athenians also demonstrated a desire to create beauty. But unlike earlier civilizations that created beauty in crafted objects, the artisans located beauty in the human form. This drive to create perfection was carried into architecture, which was likewise subjected not to the craft of workers, but to the ideal rules of ratios. The Parthenon, considered by some to be the most beautiful building in the world, was assembled from some 70,000 parts, each part individual and unique, and discreetly enhanced for the ultimate goal of perfect beauty. Like the sculptor of the canon, Polykleitos, the architects Intinkos and Kallikrates created an architectural canon. These canons of beauty and perfection would haunt the Western world for centuries to come. No culture was more critical in preserving the art of ancient Greece than a most unlikely art lover, Rome, home to the greatest empire the world has ever known.